Hello, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome in. We are going to preview the NFL games this weekend. If you guys have questions on anything, go ahead and ask. Obviously, I'll be live Sunday morning and we'll kind of fully run through the DFS slate and the final picks of the sort, whether it be DFS betting, whatever. But we'll do a little preview today and run through everything and answer any questions that you guys have. So I'm going to just jump right in. Starting off here, we have Unabated pulled up. If you guys are interested in checking out Unabated's premium product, I can get you guys a discount for your first month. So reach out to me directly if you're interested in checking out Unabated, who we are partnered up with here. First game on the board, New England and Cincy. We've got the Patriots on the road against the Bengals, favored by a touchdown. Kind of up in the air whether or not Burrow is going to play in this one. I could see him playing. He took the first team reps for the majority of the week at practice. So I would assume he's good to go. I also could see them holding him out one more week and bringing him back with Jamar Chase back healthy next week. But I don't know. I guess I would probably lean. I think it's like truly 50-50. I don't know. I feel like it would make more sense to bring him back next week with Chase, but we'll see. We'll see. Overall thoughts on this game. Patriots should win. The Patriots are in a really good spot. We've talked about this on stream the last few weeks. Patriots are in a very good spot to get the number one seed. Made a TikTok yesterday giving out my top picks for MVP right now. And I had Drake May. He is currently second in odds. I think he should be favored to win this award. I think he has obviously the statistical performance to warrant an MVP award. His team's first overall in the AFC, and I think they will finish it off and they will end up with the number one seed as well. They have a very good schedule the rest of the way. When you talk about winning the MVP award, you're telling a story more so than anything, right? The MVP voters, a lot of times, if you guys remember back to when like Brock Purdy was favored for a while it was around this time in the season when Purdy was favored to win that MVP award. They lost to the Ravens, right? And then that shifted things. That was a feather in the cap of Lamar Jackson, and he kind of overtook the race from there. That type of thing happens very often in the MVP race. And when we look at the Patriots, they play the Bengals this week, which is a good spot for him to put up, some good offensive numbers. Home against the Giants, very same thing. Good situation for the Patriots there. Then they play the Bills again, right? They've already beat the Bills once. Are they going to sweep the Bills? I don't know. But they're going to be favored probably in that game or close to it. It's in New England. And then they play the Ravens. So the Patriots are in a spot where they have two big games coming down the stretch of the season here that could really propel Drake May's MVP case, I think. So that's why I think he's number one. But when we're pertaining to this game specifically this weekend, I do think New England will have no issues, putting up offensive performance here with how bad the Bengals defense has been. Probably going to get Ramondre Stevenson back, which is going to murky the water a little bit for the backfield. I mean, Trevion Henderson's been great the last few weeks. He still has a pretty good ceiling when you factor in like his fantasy performance with Stevenson in, but he's definitely going to give up some touches, right? So that's something to watch for New England. I also think that Kayshon Boutte will be back. So again, it just muddies the water for their receiving. It's been really, really hard to pin down these New England receivers this year. I don't know from a DFS perspective. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, like Mac Hollins has been good. Stephon Diggs has been really good. Metrically, Stephon Diggs has been their best receiver, and he's been one of the best receivers in the AFC. The problem is he gets like no real volume, so it's really, really tough to pin down when he's going to have a big game versus not. So I don't really know where you would go from a DFS perspective here, but obviously Drake May is going to be one of the top options. I think New England's going to have a good chance to have a good game on offense. And then on the Bengals side, whether or not Burrow comes back remains to be seen. They're not going to have Jamar Chase, so that's going to force a lot of stuff onto the plate of T. Higgins. You would assume that T. Higgins is going to see pretty much exclusively Christian Gonzalez coverage. I don't really know who's going to step up after T. Higgins for the Bengals. Like, they're kind of thin at playmaker. Yoshi Voss has not been very good metrically. So I think Mitchell Tinsley is probably your best bet for your, like, the WR2 on the Bengals. He had a really good training camp, kind of been waiting for him to get an opportunity. So I could see Tinsley playing a big role in this game. But yeah, I think the Patriots role, they're going to be on the radar for DFS contests, and whether or not you run them back with a Bengals player, I don't know. You could play Drake May solo in this game. I don't think you need to stack him. Also, Samaje Perine, I think, is going to miss again, which is a big help for Chase Brown. So actually, from a betting perspective, I think Chase Brown is the best look on the Bengals side of things, specifically in the receiving department. So the New England Patriots are giving up a over 20% target share to opposing running backs. So if we look at the percentage of targets that the New England Patriots have faced this season, over 20% of those come from opposing running backs. So it's actually a really, really good spot for the running backs stylistically. So I think taking Perine out of the mix could really, really help out Chase Brown again. So wheels are up for Chase Brown, I think, this week. I'm trying to look at their raw numbers here. Yeah, so they've given up 63 receptions to opposing running backs. That's first in the NFL right now. New England Patriots have given up the most catches to opposing running backs. So wheels up for Chase Brown in the passing game. I'm probably going to look. I don't know what his receiving prop is. Let me check FanDuel. It's 30.5 yards, total receptions, 5.5. So the books are very much aware of this. I cannot bet on him to get 6 catches, but I do like Chase Brown from a fantasy perspective. Would be a good DraftKings play, I think, this weekend. Started off 0-3. Houston has played themselves back into the mix. Yeah, Houston definitely has. They are back in the mix for the playoffs. Davis Mills 3-0. They're going to go right back to Stroud. Even though he's 3-0, I don't think he has any chance of like actually starting over CJ Stroud. I think they will go right back to Stroud likely next week after they get the long week here. Mini bye week coming off Thursday Night Football. I think we will see Stroud back playing for the Texans next week. Jim, good afternoon. Hopefully you're doing well. So overall, I think the Patriots win this game. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine as far as the pass catchers. We'll see kind of how Stevenson affects things. But on the Bengals side, Chase Brown receiving stuff looks good to me. I think he's a good DraftKings play. Moving on to the next game, Jets and Ravens. Ravens are huge favorites here, 13.5 points at home. This is a classic Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens get-right spot. The Jets have nothing defensively without they had nothing defensively with Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. Now you take those guys out of the equation. This is an absolute smash spot for the Ravens offense. Derrick Henry is going to be a popular DFS play. I'm seeing him currently at around. Actually, he's not popping as much as I thought. I'm seeing him around 9 to 10%. I thought he was going to be higher than that. So I could definitely see making the case for him. And then I can definitely see making the case for the Lamar side of things. Really good spot for Zay Flowers. I know he's been inconsistent at times, but this is just a really, really good spot for the Ravens. I think they can easily put up 30-plus points in this one. I think they can cover that 13.5-point spread. Ravens should roll. I do like some props on the Jet side of things, and that is our boy A.D. Mitchell. So he had a really, really low receiving prop in his first game with the Jets. I think it was around 15.5 yards. He finished with one catch for 10 yards. But if we look at the box score, that doesn't really tell the full story. He was very, very involved from a route perspective. I'm trying to find his target total. What did he finish with? He finished with 6 targets, which led the team. He was very involved from a route perspective. If you go back and watch the film, he was very much open on a lot of those plays. He had 3 drops in that game. You know, that's the type of player that A.D. Mitchell is, very volatile, but he is very good at getting open. And that's why I like A.D. Mitchell. You guys know I like to bet on guys that can get separation. He can get separation. He can get open. Baltimore is one of the most man-heavy defensive schemes, especially on the back end in the NFL. They are going to try and man you up. And if they do that to A.D. Mitchell, I think he can get open. Whether or not he can catch the ball, I have no idea. We are getting no Justin Fields here. So, Tyrod Taylor probably honestly fits a little bit better with what A.D. Mitchell can do as opposed to Justin Fields. So arguably getting a quarterback upgrade. Second, this is going to be his second game with the team, so he's had more time to get acclimated. It's a good matchup. He's always been good against man coverage, even dating back to the limited sample we have from him in Indy. He's $3,200 on DraftKings, and his receiving prop's 31.5 yards. So I did take his over receiving yards. And he's popping for around 1% ownership on DraftKings. I'm going to be very interested in Adonai Mitchell this weekend. Also, Bet365 is hanging plus 550 for him to score a touchdown. Just for reference, looking on FanDuel, he's plus 410. So you're getting a huge discount on Bet365 if you guys have access for him to score an anytime touchdown, Adonai Mitchell. Giants and Lions. We're getting Jameis Winston again for the Giants. I thought Jackson Dart would be back, but he's not. The Lions are coming off a gross loss to the Eagles in primetime. They're back home. The Giants are, by all accounts, one of the worst run defenses in all of football. And I think the Lions are going to most likely steamroll them here. It's a good spot for all of the Lions players. St. Brown, Jameson Williams, both running backs. There was another report that the Lions want to get David Montgomery more involved. We get those reports all the time, and it just never seems to come to fruition. But it's a very, very good spot for both Montgomery and Gibbs. So I could see the Lions putting up a big game, especially on the ground. I could see playing Montgomery and Gibbs together in DFS, especially if you're playing smaller, like the early slate or something. But yeah, I think the Lions roll. On the Giants side of things, I have no idea. I'm less excited now that Jameis is starting as opposed to Dart. But honestly, this is the type of spot I could see Jameis having some success in, more so than last week. That was kind of a tougher spot for him against the Packers. This is a high total game, 49.5. Maybe you could talk me into Jameis. His price is 4,600 on DK. So if you wanted to even play, it's like, I don't know who you would stack him with, though. I don't want to use Wan'Dale Robinson. So, I mean, your best bet would be, you guys know I like Darius Slayton if he's good to go, but he's 4,500. Like, you're really not getting a big discount there. And then Theo Johnson's 4,100. I don't really love that either. So I guess Jameis to Slayton could have some legs. You could probably play him by himself, just like a cheap quarterback, and play a bunch of Lions on the other side. That'd probably be a pretty unique build. But Overall, I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. I think the Lions are going to score 30-plus points by themselves. Their team total is right at 30 points. Wouldn't be surprised to get 35 or 40 out of the Lions in the spot at home. So, yeah, that's my thoughts there. Pittsburgh and Chicago, we talked about this on stream a little bit yesterday. I don't really know, to be honest with you. I actually kind of lean Pittsburgh in this one. Pittsburgh has been not bad the last couple weeks offensively. They've actually had a semblance of a scheme the last few weeks, and they've played matchups and tried to exploit matchups. I think they're going to do that again this week. Chicago, I've talked about it at nauseum on the stream. Their luck is going to run out at some point. Will it be at home against the Steelers? I don't know. Sounds like Rodgers is going to be good to go. So I actually probably lean Pittsburgh in this one after I said the opposite yesterday, but the more I've looked at the game, I lean Pittsburgh from a DFS perspective. Nothing really cooking here. Not interested in any of the Steelers. Not really interested in any of the Bears players either. If you wanted to look at Luther Burden, I'm still waiting on a big Luther Burden game. He's pretty cheap. You could talk me into that from both betting and DFS perspective. But overall, that's one of the grosser games on the slate from a fantasy side of things. Should be a good real life game though with a close spread, but kind of lean Pittsburgh in that one. Same thing can be said for the Vikings and Packers. The Vikings just have not been good with JJ at quarterback. I like JJ as a kid, but yeah, he's still developing. And their fantasy performances haven't been good. The way to beat the Packers is to run on them. I've talked about this a lot. So I could see a big game from Aaron Jones, revenge game in Lambeau Field. I could see you talking me into some Aaron Jones in DFS and then pairing him up with either Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson is fine. I think it's a good spot for both of those guys. The Vikings have been beat by opposing receivers a few times in recent weeks. They blitz a lot. If you look at the blitz splits, Romeo Doubs actually leads the Packers in target share per snap against blitz. So maybe you can make the case for Romeo Doubs, but Christian Watson has kind of ascended and taken over as the lead receiver the last few weeks. So maybe a mini stack in DFS, Aaron Jones, one of those guys. You could talk me into that. Gainwell, I don't think he'll be high owned just because Jaylen Warren's off the injury report and he's good to go. So you still have two guys there in the Pittsburgh backfield. But yeah, I kind of like Aaron Jones. I kind of like either Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs. That's really my main interest in that game. Another one that could be kind of gross, to be honest. Indy and Kansas City. I took a couple bets in this one. So these are probably going to be my biggest bets of the week. I took the under 50.5 total in the game, and I took the Colts team total under 23.5. So I wanted to back the Chiefs here, but since you're getting 3 and a hook basically everywhere that I could put a bet in, I don't really want to mess around with it. So I'm going to take Colts team total under and the under in the full game. I think this will be a low scoring, close game. I do think the Chiefs will win, but I think it's going to be a close one. And we'll see what happens. But that's my read on that game. That's probably my favorite spots of the week, to be honest, is the under in that game and the Colts team total under. Seattle should smoke the Titans. I don't really have any thoughts there. Sam Darnold coming off his worst game of the season. You could go back to the Seahawks stuff in DFS tournaments. It doesn't really look like anyone's going to play JSN in cash games, I don't think. Current ownership projection I'm seeing on JSN is 14%. But you have to bake in, he's 9K and he's popping for 14%. Amon-Ra St. Brown is 8K and he's popping for 30% ownership. So I think anyone that spends up in cash on DraftKings this week is going to be playing St. Brown. So I think there's an opportunity. You could probably get the Darnold to JSN stack pretty low owned, and you don't need to run that back. If you want to mess around with some of the Titans receivers with no Calvin Ridley, you maybe could, but I don't think you need to run that back at all. Darnold to JSN is interesting in GPPs for me again. Jacksonville and Arizona. Jacoby Brissett has been really good for fantasy since taking over as the Cardinal starter. I think you could see a similar spot again. No Marvin Harrison Jr. Trey McBride has been essentially the best player in fantasy, not named Jonathan Taylor, and uh, probably CMC too. So probably after CMC and JT, Trey McBride's basically been the best player in fantasy. It's like him and JSN. So, we've been playing him pretty much weekly in DFS. I don't see that changing. I think you want to put Trey McBride on pretty much all of your teams. If you want to stack Brissett with him again and Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, you can do those things. If you want to play it through the Lawrence side of things, the Cardinals defense has been really, really bad in recent weeks. So the problem with it is, though, so I tweeted out a few weeks ago, I think it was the first game after the Jags bye. I tweeted, I'm pretty confident in saying this is Trevor Lawrence's last year as the Jags starter. Liam Cohen, just the body language is not good. He just looks completely done with Trevor Lawrence. And coming out of the bye week, the Jaguars have gone full hide Trevor Lawrence mode. They are one of the most run-heavy teams in football the last 3 weeks. We've seen them go with this two-headed monster of Etienne and Tootin. Etienne was banged up. I have not seen a report on him today, but I did see Tootin's off the injury report and good to go. So I think we see another run-heavy game script from the Jags here. You can run on Arizona. So it really just kind of disinterests me from playing Trevor Lawrence, especially when I look at the ownership projections, he's decently high up there. He's like the fourth or fifth highest owned right now. If I look at ownership projections on DraftKings, he's like the fourth or fifth highest owned quarterback. I'm just not interested. I'm interested in the running backs though, Tootin and ATM both. You could talk me into, assuming they're both active. If you want to play the Brissett stuff again, you could. I don't think we'll ever get a big game like we did last week from Brissett. I think that's probably about as high as the ceiling goes. But yeah, Michael Wilson and Trey McBride, I'm definitely interested in. And then I played Jacoby Myers a good bit last week. I think you can go back to him. If you want a mini stack Tootin with McBride or Myers with McBride, you could sell me on that. Browns and Raiders, this game's going to be gross. Browns defense is like the best play, in my opinion, on the slate. The Raiders defense is fine too, but the Raiders give up so much pressure. Like Myles Garrett might have like an all-time game in this one. There's going to be a lot of sacks on both sides of that game. So from a fantasy and betting perspective, I'm not really interested in anything here. The total on the game is so gross. It's like 36.5 points for an indoor game. That's absolutely insane. I mean, you could maybe sell me on Jerry Jeudy if he just takes over as Shador. If Shador just locks onto him and feeds him, you could maybe sell me on it. But I'm not going to play anyone in this game other than the defenses probably. We'll see how Shador does, but yeah, not super interested there. I'm not super interested in this Dallas and Philly game. I'm going to be honest with you guys. The total's pretty good because it's indoors in Dallas, but Philly coming out of their bye week with these pieces that they traded for, Jalen Phillips and company, they have returned to just dominant form. Their defense is scary good the last few weeks. Dallas did pretty good against them in week 1, but you have to remember Jalen Carter got ejected before even playing a snap in that game. I don't think this is the same situation. So I think Philly can limit Dallas offensively. And then Philly's offense has been terrible. It's super vanilla. They don't score points. And Dallas under Matt Eberflus plays very, very zone heavy. Jalen Hurts is much better against man coverage than he is against zone coverage. He's legitimately bad when you look at his numbers against zone coverage the last few years, especially this year. He's been bad. So I don't really know how you trust Philly's offense, especially baking in that Lane Johnson being out is really, really a big loss for the Eagles. I mean, they have everyone on their offense, whether it be Jalen Hurts, whether it be the offensive line as a whole, or whether it be Saquon Barkley. huge negative splits with Lane Johnson off the field. And I know the Dallas Cowboys defense is completely egregious, but we talked about this. Their defense is going to be better down the stretch than it was earlier in this year just because of the bodies that they're getting back. Overshown, very, very good linebacker. He's back. The trade for Quinnen Williams is huge, especially for their run defense. Like, they could stymie the Eagles' run offense in this game. And then what do you trust the Eagles to do passing the ball? I have no idea. So I don't really know. I think this is a gross game. I hope this game gets owned in DFS because I am going to be fading it. I don't really want anything here. If you want a one-off A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith at their price tags, you can. They're both below 6K on DK. So if you want to talk me into that, you could. If you want to use a CeeDee Lamb, you could. But I think this game is gross. The total is down like 3 points, 4 points. It opened at around 50, and I'm seeing 47.5 right now. So I think this game's going to be gross. I hope that people stack it up in DFS tournaments because I'm just not interested. And then finishing up here with the Falcons and Saints. I think the Saints win this game. We took them plus 1.5 on the stream. I think that was Monday. We looked at that. They're now favored across the board to win the game. Atlanta's trotting out Kirk Cousins. So no Michael Penix, no Drake London. The last time we saw Kirk Cousins start a game against Miami, they did not give the ball to Bijan Robinson. I think they will address that coming into this one. It was known that they didn't give the ball to Bijan in that game. They lost the game. I think you will see a much heavier dose of Robinson in this one. So I'm definitely interested in him for tournaments in DFS. He is projected for like 17. I'm seeing 17% ownership right now. So like 4th to 5th highest on the slate. I'm definitely interested in him. And then I'm interested in Tyler Shugg in GPPs below 5K, pairing him up with Chris Olave. This is a really, really good spot for Chris Olave. We've seen some wide receivers have big games against the Falcons the last few weeks. Their defense is kind of cratered. Seems to have good rapport with Tyler Shugg. Obviously, no Shaheed. Over 30% target share for Chris Olave with Shaheed off the field. Should get fed pretty heavily. Let me see what he's popping for right now, ownership-wise. Only 7%. So we're getting single-digit ownership right now on Chris Olave because the offense as a whole is not something people want to invest in. But I think Tyler Shugg can play good here. I think Chris Olave can play good here. So if you're playing larger field, Shugg to Olave with Bijan on the other side is interesting. I like that. We'll probably have that on one of my 4 or 5 DraftKings teams on Sunday. So, yeah, and I think the Saints win that game. So Olave props you could talk me into, and then I like the Saints for a side of that game. Overall, that does it for the main slate. We'll talk Sunday Night Football on Sunday stream, and then we'll talk Monday Night Football on Monday's stream as well. Good luck tonight if you are betting on anything or playing DFS. I'll tweet some college football bets out tomorrow. I haven't posted publicly any college plays the last couple weeks on X. We've just had them on, wherever I get my picks out. But I'll post some college picks for tomorrow, and then we'll be live Sunday morning at 11 a.m. to answer all your DFS questions, run through the DFS slate, betting picks, all that good stuff. So make sure you guys tune in Sunday at 11 a.m. Good luck tonight and this weekend with your bets, and I will see everybody on Sunday.